Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you part 2 of What If Naruto Was Neglected with the solo leveling system. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, if you're new, don't forget to comment down below so I can welcome you personally. And I also have 5 channels, guys. 5 different channels for you guys to enjoy. This is Anime King 3. I have Anime King 2, Anime King, Anime Symbol, and Anime Print. So go ahead, check out those and enjoy, guys. And become a part of the Anime King family. So without further ado or wasting any more time, what do you say we jump right into this brand new episode? Begin now, guys. So, the last part that we left off. Minato Namikaze, otherwise known as Yellow Flash, and the 4th Hokage of Konoha was currently watching both of his 2 children sparring. He was not the only one though. Their mother, Kushina Uzumaki, was there as well, as both Menma and Mito were clashing against one another. Minato had gave them several things that they need to tighten upon to make sure that they were prepared for what the whole world has to offer the moment they graduate, as the 2 children were vastly powerful for their age, and their lineage has a lot to do with it as well, and they also train rather intensely as well. Minato called it as he saw they were getting a bit too hectic. He had to say he was tremendously proud, as he told him to go and rest up after what had just happened. As they made their way into the house, Mito came to see Menma looking at a photograph. It was none other than their older brother. However, he had died some time ago. They wished that he was here to see them, but they would never get that. His name was Naruto. He passed away. Something that they hated because they wished they could have known him and had an older brother just like how Itachi was there for Sasuke. Also, Mito was a holder of the 9 tails. The full beast had been sealed inside of her. The excess chakra had been sealed inside of Kushina to make sure that she did not die. She was out of commission for a few months up to a year, but she came out of it. Her Uzumaki blood was extremely powerful. But that was not all. It turns out that Minato was a Senju, yes. As his mother wanted to keep him safe, her last name was Namikaze. So she protected him by not telling anyone about his Senju lineage. And he was also from the main line as well. Cousins that passed from the 2nd Hokage. That is why Menma was able to awaken the Mokidan. Mito did not have it, but her raw strength was still incredible as well. Not to mention she inherited her mother, Uzumaki chains. As the time passed by, Minato started to think about his other son. They had Naruto by accident. The thought had shocked them when they found out. They weren't ready for a family. They weren't ready yet for that. However, they still pulled through. But because of that, there was a lot of arguments, as they were still in the middle of their career. Kushina didn't want to give up her career just yet. So they end up neglecting him more than they could even imagine, as they end up not spending time with him. They also forgot his birthday twice, as they were so focused. Minato focused on being the Hokage while she was focused on her career. She realized that after a time that it was time for her to settle down. She wanted that now, but Naruto was already grown. Despite being so young, he was so smart. When she found out that she was gonna have twins, she was ecstatic. However, Naruto had fled the village, and the note that he left had shook the both of them. They were so busy they were not even knowing what they were doing to their son. He told them to be happy with the family that they wanted. The both of them had cried as they broke down. They searched. They searched as best as they could, but they weren't able to find him no matter where they searched. He had fallen off the face of the earth. Naruto was never strong. He never had the Uzumaki strength. He never had the lineage, the power, the speed. So they figured that he had passed away out there. Something like that would haunt them for the rest of their life. That is why they tried to spend as much time with Mito and Menma as possible to make sure that they were safe and okay. We then skipped to a location. A man known as Ozai was currently terrorizing a couple of people in a village. However, they had hired someone to handle him. It was a dark-haired, blue-eyed individual. Ozai, believing that he could take on this individual, he fought him, but that is when he realized how screwed he was. The man did not even put in effort as he was able to quickly put Ozai in a state of fear. Ozai ended up running away for his life. However, the man had thrown Ozai broken blade and ended him. He then returned back to the village for payment. With that, he proceeded to leave. Making his way back, it turns out that it was Naruto. His blonde hair had changed into black after his awakening. He had something known as the system. On this system, Naruto was able to do daily chores, if you want to call it that. If he failed to do those, he would be sent to a separate dimension, where he would be hunted. Those were terrible. However, after he reached a certain level, it became optional. Because of all of his exercise and training, he had a very slim, muscular build. He was extremely tall as well, and extremely handsome as well. Upon leaving the village, he was attacked by a few wolves, and he almost died, but at that moment he had awakened. And he had woke up the next morning with the system. At first he thought it was some kind of joke to do the push-ups, the squats, and the run. However, he soon found himself in a dimension that was so terrible that he had to do them. However, it was a godsend. It helped him build muscle and strength. Right now he was at his level 50s. And he was getting stronger day by day as he trained and progressed further. He had several skills under his belt. He was extremely powerful for his age of only 18 years old. As someone arrived, her name was Guren. They met some time ago and now they were together. Guren was visiting a family. She had done something in her past that she hated herself for. Every now and again though, she visited that family to make sure they were alright. The young boy known as Yukimaru, as she left money behind for the family. The mother knew that she was coming there. However, she had her suspicions on why she was doing this, but she never confronted Guren. Guren just wanted to make sure that they were happy, as she came back home with Naruto, as they spent the night together. However, later that night, Naruto found himself waking up from a dream that he's been having for the past months. He constantly sees dead bodies and destruction around him, and in the center of all of that was Guren. He had no idea why that dream kept on plaguing him, but it actually started to scare him. As he really didn't want that to become a reality, he glanced over towards her as she was sleeping. He would protect her with everything that he had. So yeah guys, basically that's what I thought. If you guys can switch across the play, check it out for yourself. So let's begin this new episode. We begin this episode in the past. Guren was on her knees. In front of her was a man that was bringing down his blade to end her life once and for all. He had brown hair and dark, beady eyes. He was quite muscular, around 6'5". Time itself seemed to slow down as Guren watched a blade come towards her. She wasn't even trying to defend herself after what she had done. Guren's backstory was not a pretty one. Her parents died at an early age. She was left alone after the orphanage that she was in was burned down. She and the other kids had to run, as many people had been kidnapping several of them for reasons that she would not like to know. So she ran away. She had 2 friends, but they died. Kids all alone in the wild was not a pretty sight. That is when she discovered her bloodline, her crystal release. a rather powerful, durable bloodline. Since then, she used it at her advantage. She stole, she did whatever it takes to survive. But she had her morals. Growing up, she had to do things, but she never went over the limit. She never did something that would scar her for the rest of her life. Until recently, the man was a father. But she was not told any of that. She was running with a very dangerous group of individuals, as she was the most powerful there, but inexperienced to getting jobs and doing jobs from people. So she ran with this group. She had already told them what she would not do. But they lied to her. They told her that this man was a scum, someone that had did so much horrible things, and the pay was so good. So she did not bother to dive into it, believing that she could trust these people by now. So she killed the man that she was hired to kill. However, she later found out that he was a father. His son was Yukimaru. He had his son and wife at home, waiting for him. The man did absolutely nothing wrong. He was a pure, innocent man. It turns out that he had a land that the boss man hired them. He wanted. The land was rich with all kind of materials. However, the people that lived there with the man, he used it as a shelter for them. He protected people that had nowhere to go, children that were lost. Gorin saw all the kids cried when they found out that he had died. Even some of the older ones. She could feel the sadness. She had pretended like she was just a visitor to see what was going on. Then she saw the wife and child. It broke something inside of her. She had promised herself that she would never rob any children of having someone to be there for them. That is why she tried to go for the knockout method instead of just killing the person. However, the things that these people had told about this man, the lies that they told, she realized that he was some kind of big scum. But that was all a lie. She returned back and slaughtered every single one of the group. They begged her, trying to stop her, but she killed them all. She then went after the boss. She slaughtered all of his people. He found out that she was coming for him, so he hired someone. And this was a person. Gorin had fought him at first, but her will to fight was slowly breaking. She started to remember about her two friends when she was younger. How all of them believed that they would make it through. That they would find a place that they could stay, that they would grow and become strong so that they could protect themselves. She saw those people, she saw the children, even the man, wife and child crying because she took the man's life away. It affected her badly, so she simply gave up. The large man in front of her was going to end her life. The blade was coming down. It seems like hours, but it was just seconds. She closed her eyes. She deserved this. She deserved this for what she did. She no longer had the will to fight back, so she simply accepted her death. However, it never came. She slowly opened her eyes as the man in front of her staggered, before he collapsed backwards, unconscious. That is when she saw someone in all black, standing there. Gorin instantly got angry. "Why the hell did you do that?" she yelled at the individual. The person looked towards her confused. "He was about to kill you. Why did you stop him? You have no idea what is going on. This doesn't concern you. Get the hell out of here," she yelled at him. As the person stepped forward, making her see him, the first thing that popped into her mind, he was quite handsome, dark hair and blue eyes. As he looked at her, "So you're willingly allowing yourself to be killed," he asked. As he spoke, he was looking directly into her eyes. "I said, get the hell out of here," she fired a crystal, just to make him run off. She wasn't aiming to hurt him or anything. He did not budge as the crystal passed him. He then stepped forward. "Didn't you hear what I said?" she yelled. She got to her feet and started to release her anger upon him. However, he did not move. She punched him in the face, once, twice, 3 times. but he did not budge in the slightest. Gurin pulled back. Just, who the hell are you? She said. Her eyes were filled with tears. The next thing she knew, he was in front of her. Both of his arms came up. She thought he was going to end her life. So her body went rigid. However, what happened was him hugging her. Gurin tried to fight it at first until her body melted into the hug. She did not even know this man, and yet here she was, crying her eyes out on his shoulder. As she cried, for what seems like hours, he simply held her. Gurin ended up passing out. As she felt so safe and comfortable in his arms, she passed out as she went to sleep. When Gurin woke up, she was in some kind of room. There was even a comforter over her. She pulled it off as her feet touched the ground. She realized someone had taken off her feetwear. She looked around cautiously, trying to remember how did she end up here. However, she could not recall. The last thing she remembered was crying. That strange man had held her. He held her in his arms as she cried. She was confused. She fall asleep. Where was she? She thought. She checked herself over. Everything seemed to be fine. A smell then caught her nose. She proceeded to make her way downstairs cautiously. She arrived as she saw his back turn. As he was at the kitchen, several things were on fire. She tried her best to be as quiet as possible. You must be hungry. He suddenly spoke. You've been asleep for quite some time. Just hold on, he said. I'll be finished soon. Gurin stood there absolutely shocked. Who are you? She said. He looked over his shoulder towards her, and she was right. He was handsome. You can call me Naruto, he said. Why did you bring me here? She asked. You were tired and exhausted. I believe that you needed somewhere to rest your head. I didn't, she said. You interrupted what was going to happen. Why? Because I've been there, he said. You feel so empty, so alone, like there's nothing holding you to this world. So you figure, why not just let it all slip away? However, trust me, there is always something to live for. Don't worry, I'm not some kind of psychopath that's gonna try and keep you here. Once you've eaten, you can be on your way. Just after we had a little chat. About? Gurin said. Why did you want it to die? Naruto asked. That isn't any of your business, she said to him. Alright, fine. I guess it's just dinner then, he said to her. Gurin couldn't understand why he was doing this, or why he was being so nice. However, a part of her said, if she really had nothing to live for, why not just have a little meal? She was hungry, she thought to herself. She was unaware that that was going to be the change that placed her on a better path. That was how they met, and since then, Naruto and Gurin spent majority of their time together. She figured that she had something to live for. She went by every now and then to make sure that Yukimaru and his mother was okay. She even left money for them to make sure that they were taken care of. As several individuals had came together and started to run the large orphanage together to make sure that the man's dream did not die out as they kept people safe. She was glad that they were doing that, but she still felt guilty. She wasn't sure that guilt would ever go away. However, with Naruto by her side, things were a lot better. In the flashback, as we skip to the current time, Naruto was standing on top of a large hill. There were several sticks in the ground, stakes to be exact, with another making a T. All of these sites were graves. As Naruto closed his eyes and stood there for a moment, he then snapped his gaze down. He stepped forward as he knelt. He brought his hand up before he struck the ground with tremendous force. His hand tore right through it as Naruto ripped the earth apart, ignoring the dust and the mud as he tore it open to see a coffin placed inside. He then proceeded to rip off the lid and threw it away. Inside was a woman in her late teens crying. As she was still alive, Naruto pulled her out as she jumped on top of him, hugging him, crying in grief and relief. "It's alright now," he said, as he held on to her. "Everything's gonna be alright." Moments later, a very powerful man. His name was Reiga Kurasuke. He was a former ninja of the Seven Ninja Swordsmen, a very powerful organization from Kiri that was now disbanded. He had the Kiba blades. They were immensely powerful, bonded with the affinity of lightning. Reiga had dark hair that almost looked green as it flattered down his back. He was wearing a black and golden vest with a white shirt underneath that looked like pure bandages wrapped around his torso and arms as well. As the black vest went down and covered his midsection, he was wearing grey pants and sandals. At the moment, he was standing in front of several people. All of them seemed to be people under his control. They were all looking down towards the man in front of them. The man was being held down by several of them as they were placing him inside of a coffin. The earth was torn up behind them. It was a burial place for him. Reiga had both of his hands together as he seemed to be praying to his deity. Reiga was a very sick, psychotic man. He believed in burying people even while they were alive. It was the greatest debt that he could ever give them. For them to be taken down by him in such a fashion, it brought him pure joy. It seems like he was not too well in the head, or perhaps he was just a man that liked to bring despair and death. All the others around him were forced to, well, do as he said, otherwise all of them would be cut down. None of them stood a chance against him. He was an A-rank missing ninja. He had set his sights on a nearby town, which he had kidnapped the people from who tried to fight against him. In his mind, he was a messenger from some sort of deity, and anyone that dare raise their hand against him, they deserve the ultimate punishment, and he would send them to meet this deity. Not too long ago, he had buried a female that dared to stand up against him. She should be run out of here anytime now. Reiga felt something as he turned. He glanced up towards the little stope as someone was looking down towards them. The person started to walk down the hill rather calmly. All of the men around him stopped as they stepped forward. The man from earlier was still held down by the chains that were holding him, that they had dragged him out here. This whole thing was a sacrifice and a ritual that took some time. As Naruto arrived on the ground that they were on, his eyes met with Reiga, but he did not say anything. Reiga did not draw his blade or made any movement to attack. He simply stood there as calm as ever. As Naruto walked, all the guys around started to get a bit antsy. However, Reiga gave them a look. None of them should make a single move. They watched as the man vanish. Even Reiga was surprised. The chains all broke. Naruto was now behind them. The same man from before was now on his feet. As Naruto's hand was resting on his shoulder. "Are you alright?" he said. The man nodded frantically. "Yes, but my wife," he said. "It's alright. She's back at the village. You saved her." Tears were in the man's eyes as he looked at Naruto. "Yes, she's fine." The man could not help himself as he hugged Naruto with all of his might. Thank you so much." He turned his gaze towards Reiga. "That psychopath has come into our village, starting chaos." "Don't worry, I already been filled in," said Naruto. "Go, I'll handle this. But there's so much of them." "It's alright," Naruto said. The man thanked him over and over again as he rushed home. His wife was the one that Reiga had buried earlier. He was grateful to hear that she was alive. "How dare you," Reiga said. "Do you know what you have just done? You have interrupted my ritual. The sacrifice that needs to be quiet," said Naruto. Reiga was stunned. "Do you know who I am? Do you have any idea who you're talking to?" "Yes, A sick psychotic man that believes burying innocent people is the right thing to do. Riga clenched his fists. Usually, the victim should be the one to cast the first stone for me to see if they deserve proper judgment. But you deserve much worse. Firstly, you interrupted a ritual that should not be interrupted, and then you have the nerves to insult me. Kill him. Kill him now, Riga said. All of the men rushed forward, their intent to kill so strong. A psychotic look on majority of their faces. Some of them seemed to rather enjoy doing what they were doing. They get some kind of sick pleasure out of it. The first one had a claymore. However, he was heavily inexperienced as he swiped at Naruto. Naruto took one single step back. The man overstepped his reach as Naruto stepped into his guard. He then proceeded to grab the man's shoulder as he planted his fist into his stomach. Naruto held him so he would not be thrown away. His body immediately crumbled upon itself. Another one had a mace as he swung it towards Naruto's skull. Naruto reached up and caught the thing, gripping his hand around the small handle that was left. He then yanked it, causing the guy to slam into his own friend. He then chopped him in the back of the neck. He then appeared behind the other one that got hit in the face with the mace. Naruto proceeded to backhand him. He crashed into 3 others as they all fell over. 2 came forward with curved katanas as they sliced. However, Naruto stepped out of the way as they sliced each other down. Another one had a dagger. He threw it towards Naruto. Naruto caught it right before it could pierce him with 2 fingers. He turned it around and threw it. The guy collapsed instantly. Another one had a bat as he swung it towards Naruto's skull. Naruto reached out and caught it. The guy started to apply pressure as Naruto sunk his fingers into it. The bat started to break until it shattered into pieces. Naruto planted his foot into the guy's chest, kicking him away as he crashed hard. Another one had a short tanto as he sliced and diced at Naruto. Naruto evaded all strikes before sending a well-placed hit right into his nose. He passed out instantly. Riga was astonished as he watched all of his men being easily taken down. As Naruto stood there unfazed, all of Riga's men were either dead or unconscious. Riga reached behind him. It's been a long time since I had to draw my blade personally. However, now I can understand what is going on. You were sent here to test my fate. You truly are delusional, aren't you? You cannot trick me, said Riga. And my fate is strong and unbreakable. And I will show you that by slaying you as you walk. Riga leaped up in the sky as he came down. Both of his blades arced outwards as Naruto avoided both of the slashes. Riga dropped as he swiped as Naruto jumped. He then turned his blade upwards, intending on splitting Naruto in half. Naruto spun in mid-air and landed to the side. Riga spun as he flipped after Naruto, slicing and cutting through the sky. As Naruto stepped back, avoiding all of Riga's strikes. The both of them stopped. Riga was smiling. Now I can see it. You are my ultimate test, to test my fate. He held up both of his blades. Lightning started to run through them as they started to cackle. With an immense amount of power, random discharges started to go all around as Naruto saw them coming towards him. Storage, Naruto said. As the system appeared, he plunged his hand forward before he pulled something out. He used it to block all the lightning strikes. Actually, he was able to tear right through them. He was now holding a white blade. The handle was pure white, with strange purple markings running across it, and a white glowing gem in the center of it. The blade was constantly radiating wind energy around it, which he was able to use to cancel out the lightning attack. Riga saw that as he increased the potency and the power. Naruto actually started to move this time, as Riga was destroying everything with slashes of pure electric bursts. By the time Naruto landed, he looked towards his arm, as one of the lightning attacks had zipped him across his arm. However, it quickly healed. Rhaegar was smiling the entire time as he reached forward. He stepped into Naruto's guard as their blade clashed. The wind was able to cancel out the lightning as the both of them disappear and reappear over the area using bursts of speeds. Rhaegar believing that this was a test for him. Naruto's face was calm as a lightning strike went past his cheek. However, it healed almost instantaneously. They clashed against each other, destroying the area that they were fighting on. That was until Naruto stepped into Rhaegar's stomach. Blood came from the man's mouth. Naruto pressed his hand further into Rhaegar's guts. After the kick, his hand went deep. Rhaegar could not breathe for a moment until he was launched. He crashed through several trees before coming to a stop. Rhaegar was frightened because there was no trees around him a moment ago. He then realized that he was knocked all the way to the forest. He tried to get up but his knees buckled as he proceeded to cough up a lot of blood. Rhaegar was shocked as he looked toward his hand. There was no drench in his own blood when he touched it. The pain was severe from only one punch. However, his mind did not waver. This was his test, his ultimate test for him to triumph. Rhaegar started to pull all of his lightning affinity inside of his body. He started to maximize his chakra in a very dangerous way. He started to burst out of the forest. Thunderclouds started to gather, a jutsu that he was creating to finally end his opponents. Rhaegar was laughing the entire time. Just one punch, and I was almost blown apart, he said. You are the true ultimate test. And now I shall show you what I have to offer, he said. He raised both of his blades to the sky. This is my ultimate technique, lightning rain. As Rhaegar poured an abnormal amount of chakra into the clouds, Naruto vanished. The ground exploded into pieces. Vast, immensely powerful lightning balls started to rain down from the heavens. The speed was incredible. It was lightning after all, as it struck the area. Every single time Naruto's feet touched down on the ground, it struck the area. Rhaegar was confused. This was his ultimate technique, and if he did not hit his target soon enough, he would run out of chakra. How could he lose? This was his birthright. This was his destiny. Rhaegar proceeded to scream as he released almost all of his chakra, just enough to keep him alive. A massive ball of lightning converged upon Naruto. Naruto was glancing up towards the air as he saw the thing coming down. Time itself seemed to slow down. Rhaegar's grin extended as Naruto was going to die. However, at the last moment before it struck Naruto's face, it split into 5 pieces and hit something. Rhaegar noticed 5 orbs on the ground that were able to redirect his lightning. He was confused. As Naruto stood there, he held his blade up, his eyes focusing on Rhaegar before he vanished. Blood spurted from Rhaegar's mouth. He looked down as the blade was in his chest. Rhaegar stood there shocked. He coughed up blood. How? He said. Naruto glanced over his shoulder. Those items can be used as lightning rod. I just had to prepare them as fastly as I could. I had 5 seconds between the attacks when I placed them around, said Naruto. Naruto got items from completing his daily chores. They were not mainly for that purpose, but they could be used as lightning rods to redirect lightning to different areas. They just needed a powerful source, and also a strong magnetic pull, as Naruto uses chakra as the anchor between them and the lightning. As I said before, he was a really smart individual. As Rhaegar used all of his power up and was unable to even move. However, despite his knowing death, he smiled. He seemed to be happy. He coughed up blood once more time. I am one of the strongest A-rank missing ninjas. In our battle, I was just able to wound you a few times. Yet you healed so fast, it was like I never touched you in the first place. I can tell that you're strong. I always wanted to be killed, doing what I love, and that was fighting at my best. And to be killed by someone that possessed your strength. I am happy to fall as such. Naruto pulled his blade back as Rega collapsed. As the system popped up, Naruto stepped forward as he pushed his hand out and pulled out a stone. Whenever he defeated a powerful opponent, after getting them to use their strongest ability, he had a chance of learning that ability, as it was the same attack Rega just used, the lightning storm. Naruto took the stone as he placed it upon his chest. A bright blue flash as it vanished inside of him. The mechanics of the techniques and how to perform it running through his mind. He also gained points as well, which he could use to update his stats. Naruto proceeded to do so, and he was on the brink of leveling up as his level went up, giving him 3 extra status points. Whenever he took down a strong individual, his points went up, and that turned into a level up. And every time he leveled up, he gained 3 status points to give his strength, speed, endurance, his intelligence, and all of that. It was truly wonderful. However, something was wrong. He did not know what it was, but he felt a feeling, a strange, unknown feeling, that something was wrong. But it was gone the next moment. He tried to shake it off, but there was a strange feeling, like it was directly affecting his bones, like something was wrong. It was an odd feeling, and it was gone soon after, as he made his way back toward the town, showing proof of the dead that was Rega, unaware that his life was going to change for the worse. Meanwhile, at the Hidden Leaf, it was a big celebration. They were taken out to have ramen. They were obsessed with the thing. Mother was obsessed with it, father was, and so were the children. As Mito and Menma ate until they were going to burst, they were brought home. They finally received their headbands. They were now official ninjas of the Hidden Leaf. There was no doubt that they would not pass the test, but to have their headbands and wear it with pride, it brought them such joy. Sasuke Uchiha also graduated as well, as he tried to act all cool about it. Sasuke was currently tied with Menma. Sasuke was a very powerful boy. Despite Menma possessing several powerful abilities for his young age, Sasuke was trained by his family, and he was immensely powerful, yes. Meanwhile, Minato was sitting in the living room, as Kushina had made her way upstairs, as he started to reflect on several things. Things would have been bad if he had not sat down with Fukaku and talked to him. For one thing, Minato had fought that man that night. He possessed a Sharingan. To this day, they weren't able to find him. Minato had marked him with his seal. However, he could not teleport towards the man for some reason. For some reason, it was able to be removed. It took him a few days before he had settled back into things, but the beacon was no longer there. Whoever he was dealing with was tremendously powerful. Their power, strength, everything. On the night that he fought the man, he believed him to be Madara Uchiha, and the man did not deny this. But to believe that someone with such potency of a chakra and power was still going on in the world, it was a frightening thought. Many believe that the Uchihas were behind this because they saw the great beast's eyes. It was showing the Sharingan. Danzo Shamura, he was a man of great intellect, a man of great pull and power because he was a comrade of Hiruzen in the war. He was also the student of the second Hokage. That gave him great influence. He had tried to have the Uchihas push back. However, Minato stand firm. Yes, he stood firm on what he believed in. knowing that would only cause chaos between them and the rest of the village. It took several meetings with Fukaku as he spoke. Minato was unaware that in the beginning there was a coup that was being plotted. However, because of the man that he was able to find peace and balance between them. The coup was prevented. The elders were warned by Fukaku as he stood tall in what he believed, that him and Minato can make the village great, not just for everyone but the Uchihas as well. Itachi Uchiha was being groomed to be the next clan head. It was a lot of work, so he didn't have much time for his younger brother Sasuke. Neither did Fukaku have time for his son as well, as he was a very busy man. The police force was still governed over Konoha by Minato request. There has been a lot of internal arguments between them and the Hyugas, who wanted to reign the position because they believed that they were better suited for it with their eyes. But Minato stood firm on that, which led to a lot of disagreement with him and the current clan head of the Hyuga clan, that being Hayashi Hyuga. However, he believed that he could sort all of that out to keep everyone happy, but it was a lot of difficult work to do. So for majority of the time, Mito and Menma did not really see him, neither did Kushina, as he was busy a lot. But he was still trying his best as a father, because every time he did too much work, every time he focused too much on his work, the memory of Naruto came back to haunt him. He had to spend time with his children. He didn't want what happened in the past to ever happen again, because that was still haunting him. However, they were not the only ones that were thinking about Naruto. At the Uchiha compound, Mikoto Uchiha sat in the backyard as she was currently knitting a scarf. Peaceful things that kept her nice and calm as she looked over her garden. She didn't know why, but the thought of the oldest child of the Namikaze family popped into her head. His name was Naruto. She had met him on several occasions. Majority of the times, Kushin had asked her to watch over him while she wasn't within the village. Naruto was a kind, respectful boy. However, he always asked why they could not spend time with him. She had tried her best to explain it all. Itachi Uchiha was a friend of Naruto, as Mikoto had thought it would do him some good. While his parents were not there, that he could come over and spend time with Itachi. They spent a lot of time together. She had noticed Itachi acting strange whenever the topic of Naruto came up. She believed that he knew that Naruto was planning on running away, and that he did not tell any of them, but he swore that he did not know. And Itachi was not known for lying, so she believed him. But still, she was saddened to hear that he had ran away. Kushina had went into a state of depression, and that wasn't healthy while she was pregnant. Mikoto tried to help her as best as she could. Minato was also suffering as well. Her husband had spoken to him, but to this day, they still haven't found him. There was a chance that he had died. There was a chance that he might still be alive. However, she prayed if he was happy. All he ever wanted was happiness. But back then, the both of them had no time for him. And to a young child like him, it hurt him to his very soul. She could tell. She had tried to spoke to Kushina about that. She tried to spare time, but the both of them always had other things. Always had their mind focused on something else. So they were not there for him. She just hoped if he was alive that he was okay. He had been through so much. And the letter that she had read that Kushina had passed on to her, it broke her heart as well. He believed that they did not want him, and they were better off with their new family. As she released a breath. Meanwhile, Naruto made his way. As he left the confines of his home, something was wrong. Ever since he had took down Reiga, he could tell that something was wrong. However, it became worse when Guren did not arrive. She did not arrive home, so he went to find her. He knew exactly where Yukimaru and his mother lived. So he made his way there knowing that she was there to check upon them. As Naruto started to feel an odd sensation, which started to make him worry, he increased his pace, moving as fast as he could go, and with his stamina and his speed, well, it did not take him too long. The place was immensely cold as he got there, but his body was resistant to heat and cold, so he had no need for any kinds of blanket or anything to wear over him. Arriving towards the location, Naruto came to a stop when he noticed smoke in the small village settlement. He leaped over the mountain, clearing it. It was not that large, but still, as he crash landed and ran, as Naruto rushed through, not caring of the people that were hiding. He arrived towards the house as he came to a stop. His heart was repeatedly pounding in his chest, as fast as it could go. Sweat was rushing down his forehead. As Naruto looked around, the house was in shambles. It was completely destroyed. He noticed blood on the ground, all over the area. As Naruto heard groaning, he threw all the broken piles away to see. Naruto paused as two people were lying there. One of them, he could tell, was Yukimaru's mother. Her name was Hikari. She had brown hair and purple eyes. Her eyes were open because she was no longer breathing. The man next to her, though, was still alive. Naruto opened his inventory and pushed his hand inside as he pulled out a vial with red liquid inside. Here, drink, he said. As the man slowly drank the liquid, his wound started to heal. As he pulled himself up in complete shock and confusion. What happened here? Said Naruto, his tone frantic. The man glanced over, tears in his eyes when he saw the body of Hikari. They came for them. Who? Who came for them? Said Naruto. I don't know, he said. It was just a normal day. Hikari, she was tending to her son's breakfast. Everything was okay, and then it was a large group. They went through several of the homes, searching. There was nothing but chaos. I tried to help, but they were strong. Someone then arrived, a woman with blue hair in a green dress. She tried to help. However, the enemy, he was fast, strong as well. Not to mention he could use his bones. What do you mean? Said Naruto. His bones were coming out of his body. Him and the others, they fought her. They were able to subdue her and they dragged her away. They also took Yukimaru. After doing this, as he looked at Hikari, where did they go? Naruto asked. I don't know. I know. Naruto turned, scaring the hell out of the people just by the look in his eyes. As one of them had spoke, who said that? The woman raised her hand. As Naruto was in front of her, she nearly collapsed on her butt, but he grabbed her shoulders. Where did they go? Where did they take her? They went to the east, she said, shaking. The moment she said that, he was gone, blazing through the town. As Naruto ran, arriving, Naruto proceeded to stop where he was. His shadow started to extend. That is when several individuals, their body were comprised of darkness, crawl out of his shadow. Find them, Naruto ordered to his shadow warriors. All of them split apart. As Naruto made his way off as well. 30 minutes later, Naruto was alerted. As Naruto sunk into his own shadow and reappeared. As he came pulling out of one of the shadow creatures that was on a tree branch. There were 10 men that was currently at a small settlement. As Naruto was quiet, as he heard them talking, they were talking about going back to the town and raiding for artifacts, gold, jewels, money, because the boss got what they wanted. As Naruto was not sure who they were talking about, but he did not care. Naruto landed in the center of the 10 men. Before they could even utter a word or blink, 5 of them had been decapitated. The other 2 had been crushed. as their body had simply slammed so hard on the ground. Another one had a shadowy hand ripped through his chest, tearing out his heart. That left two behind. The shadow wrapped its arm around another and held him in place. The last one was trembling where he stood. "I'm only gonna ask you this once," said Naruto, "and you're gonna answer me. If you don't talk, you will die. Do you understand?" "Where was she taken?" Naruto said. "Where did you people take her?" I don't snap." Naruto snapped his neck like it was nothing. He then turned his gaze. "Answer me," he said to the last one. The man started to spill everything. They were the weaker soldiers, left behind to gather what they could and bring back to the base. As he told Naruto where the base was. "So, am I free to go?" he said. Only for the shadowy figure behind him to sink his teeth into his flesh. The man screamed out as Naruto made his way off. Naruto ran. He did not stop running. He ran with full force, making his way. He did not slow down. He did not take a breath, as he simply made his way. Meanwhile, at the base, Gurren was panting, as she currently had a crystal dagger in her hand. Across from her was Kimimaro. He was the last member of the Kaguya clan. They were able to use the bones from their body. Gurren had several wounds and cuts all over her. She was lightheaded and dizzy at the moment. She wouldn't last much longer. But she had to kill this bastard for what he did. Things happened so fast. She was there just to check when she saw these unknown people inside of the village. They started to create a fuss and attacking people. She did not hold back on them. But when she arrived, Yukimaru and his mother was currently being hassled by this stronger group, a guy calling himself Renji, and four others. They were far stronger than the other normal lackeys. She was quickly able to save Yukimaru and his mother. As she started to fight these people, they had unknown abilities, strange as well. One of them had this poisonous gas. She had to hold her breath. Another could make his body really slippery and could avoid being hurt by normal means. Punches could not hurt him. However, her crystals could hurt him. She was taking on all five of them. A large one named Gozu. He was massive. He was also extremely strong as well. That is when he arrived. The first thing she heard was Yukimaru crying out. As she watched, as his mother collapsed, a bone had tore through her chest. Gurren rushed in. However, she was attacked by all six of them now. The bone man was stronger than she thought. She was trying to protect Yukimaru as well. They used that against her. Next thing she knew, she woke up here. They must be worse than she thought. They probably thought that she wouldn't be strong enough to fend for herself. She easily killed the two guards with her bare hands. She didn't have to use her bloodline. She was able to lure them in and end their life because they underestimated her. She then started to search a base as she tried to find Yukimaru. That is when she heard talking about a few others already moving out. They were already taking Yukimaru away. As she tried to flee the base though, this guy, Kimimaro, his name was, he showed up. "I'm gonna kill you for what you did," she said. He looked at her with a small snarl on his face. "This is a waste of my time. My lord only wanted a child. And who exactly is your lord? Because I'm gonna kill him right after this." "Stupid, stupid woman," he said. "There's absolutely no chance that you can stand against my lord. Lord Orochimaru does not have a vested interest in you. I was the one that brought you here. Because of the special bloodline you seem to have. My lord is always searching for unique abilities. But it does not matter anymore because this is where you shall perish." With that, he rushed forward as Guren rushed forward as well. As they clashed, several sound ninjas showed up. They were told to stay back by Kimimaro. He did not need their assistance. Guren was losing badly, as she was bleeding from the earlier battle, and she did not fully replenish her chakra yet. She slammed her hand down as Crystal showed up. He tore out his own spine and used it as a whip, as he now had strange black markings over him. He realized that she was stronger than he thought. He had to enter the first stage of the curse mark to actually be able to overpower her. That is when the place started to shake. Screams started to be heard throughout the base, as Guren felt a source, a power source that she knew all too well. Naruto, she thought. That brought a smile to her face. However, Kimimaro wasted no time in attacking her once again. Meanwhile, as Naruto was running through the base, he was holding on to a blade that had a purple glow around it. Several ninjas landed in front of him. "We won't allow..." That was the final word they said, as Naruto ran past them. Their bodies were left in pieces. A large guy came running out towards Naruto. It was Gozu. As he tried to stop Naruto, Naruto flipped over him. Gozu slammed his hand in the wall, trying to cancel out the path from Naruto leaving. The place broke down. That is when a man showed up with a gas mask around his mouth, as he started to release an unknown gas. And just like that, he's dead, he said out loud, only for his throat to be split open by the blade that was in Naruto's hand. Suddenly, a strange blue individual was able to stretch his body and wrap around Naruto, as he was trying to crush his bones. The guy had a patch of pink hair with green eyes, and he was also wearing green lipstick. "Do it now!" he shouted, as a small individual with white hair jumped up. He fired strange missiles down towards Naruto, as the blue-haired guy separated the move. However, Naruto grabbed him. With such speed, he was unable to escape as Naruto threw him into the missiles. His body was blown apart. Naruto burst out of the smoke and stepped into the small guy's face. He crushed his skull against the wall. Renji, who was the leader of this group, stepped away in fear. Gozu appeared behind Naruto as he dropped both of his hands on his shoulder, aiming to crush him completely. However, Naruto caught both of his hands and actually pushed them apart. He then flipped and stomped into Gozu's face. His head broke through the wall. Gozu pulled himself up as Naruto launched a fist into his stomach. His whole body broke through the wall, giving Naruto space to leap over and ran. Grabbing his blade, Naruto ran straight through, cleaving and dicing anyone that appeared in his path. "Guren!" he screamed out, searching the entire building trying to find her. That is when he heard something as he arrived inside of an arena-style base. Naruto. He looked up as he saw Guren standing there. However, a white-haired guy stood behind her. Guren seemed exhausted and out of it. Several slash marks over her. There was also a bone sword buried in her stomach. "It's gonna be alright," said Naruto, as he looked at her. He looked up towards the bone guy. "Let her go." As Kimimaro looked down towards him, "You have no right to give me any orders." That is when several dozen sound ninjas start to appear out of all the open rooms running inside of the open arena, but Naruto did not spare them a glance. "Just let her go, and we'll leave this place," said Naruto. "You and your man can do whatever you want, I don't care. Just let her go." As Kimimaro looked towards him, "My lord would not take kindly to you doing anything, as such as killing his man that he wished to use for his own use. And I'm certain that, with that look in your eyes, you won't let this go. So it's better if we just kill you right here and now." "Don't you dare," Naruto said. "Guren, look at me." As she was looking directly at him, Guren could feel it. Kimimara's hand pressed against her back. "I love The bone stabbed through her heart, destroying it in the process. It was a rather large one. Naruto stood there, completely shocked. Several of the men watched as Kimimaro threw Guren's body off. Naruto arrived in an instant as he caught her. She landed into his arm bridal style. Guren! Guren, he said. Inventory, he shouted as he reached inside and pulled out a vial. He tried to pour it down her throat. However, she wasn't moving. He pressed his head against her chest. Guren! Guren, he said to her. Kimimaro looked down towards him. It's over, he said, as he jumped down to end Naruto's life. He was unaware that he's just started Armageddon. All the color in Naruto's eyes seemed to fade away. As Kimimaro was in mid-air, a toxic purple aura started to radiate off Naruto's body. Kimimaro was going to slash Naruto as he fell, but he was forced to jump away. Every instinct in his body was screaming at him to run, to get the hell out of there. Naruto's eyes became dull, like there was no life inside of him. His body became rigid. Kimimaro's body screamed at him to run as fast as possible, but he would never run. He was Lord Orochimaru's subordinate. That is when Naruto's eyes turned white. The system was popping up over and over again. Something was wrong. Naruto's fingers started to twitch. His whole body started to tremble. The literal base started to shake. As Naruto slowly turned his gaze towards Kimimaro, and what he saw terrified him. He was a man that always stood tall, trying to be loyal, to never show fear, and yet every single one of the Sound Ninjas ran for their life when they saw it. But guys, me ends up so right here. If you want the next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification stay posted. Bye, I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.